Hey y'all, it's Nancy, the Handy Scandy. I am here with Imagine Crafts today. This is my first video, and I thought how fun would it be to do some of the faux dip dyeing that we've been seeing all over the internet. So I decided I would start out with these beautiful VersaMagic inks. I'll be using the pink grapefruit, the red magic, as well as the mango madness. This is going to be a beautiful ombre, and I have saved these little bags. They're cello bags from my stash. You know, all of our crafty products come in these little plastic bags, and I thought, well, let's put them to use. So I've cut down my watercolor card to 5.5 by 5.5, and I'm working on this wonderful craft mat. I flipped it over to the grid. I was pleasantly surprised to find that there was a grid. It is marked out in 1/2-inch squares, and the boulder lines are the 1 inch. So really easy to keep track of and know where you're at and make sure that things are lined up. Now, if y'all are familiar with me at all, I usually don't measure. Measuring is not my thing. But for dip dyeing, it's kind of important to have at least that first layer kind of level. Now, if you are not familiar with the premise behind dip dyeing, it's usually done with fabric. People have been doing it in their hair as well. Now, if we were using fabric, we would essentially dip our fabric into the pigment, but we are doing it on paper, and so we're doing one layer at a time, starting with the very lightest color. You see how my top line is barely there, and each subsequent line I add a little bit more intensity and a little bit more intensity, kind of blending my colors in between so that there's a nice gradient, and you go from lightest down to darkest. And you just keep going like that so that the gradient is super light at the top and super intense and dark at the bottom, as you can see that I've done here. And so I did this with all 4 panels, and it's really fun, and I like it, and I want to continue to practice and kind of hone that skill because I do feel like it's a bit of a skill. And I never waste my ink, so decided I would do a little bit of smooshing. Now, a thing to remember when you're using any kind of wet medium is that wet on wet blends, so your colors will blend together, and wet on dry layers. And of course, for both of these techniques, the dip dyeing as well as the ink smooshing, I want it all to layer. So using my heat tool in between, I didn't mention that with the dip dyeing, but I did use my heat tool in between each layer because you want it to layer. Now, if you have time just to walk away and let everything dry, by all means, please. Or if you don't have a heat tool, just set it aside and let it dry and come back to it. Let it be one of those projects where you just you get to walk away several times. So it's good if you have limited time and things like that. Just allow it that time to dry. So you can see all those beautiful layers that I've developed here on these little, these are 2.5 by 3.5. They're essentially ATC size. And these will become the hearts for my little goodie bags. So of course I had to have some splatter. So just want to make sure that I have all of my colors incorporated and included in the splatter. So just smushed my pigment out yet again and added some water to it and then splattered. Now here you can really only see the red that kind of dyed back as more of a pink, and that's something to remember as well, is that your pigments typically will dry back much softer than what you see originally, especially when they're wet. So I used this heart dye from my stash, and I purposely left that right side off. That was my plan from the beginning. And then I'm using these stamps from Hero Arts, and I will have everything, of course, listed downstairs. I thought these were just super sweet. And of course, you can use any shape die that you have or that you want, and you can use any die set. And this does not, or any stamp set rather, it does not have to be for Valentine's. Of course, we're in Valentine's season, so I made mine Valentine goodie bags. But you can make it for any season. These could be incorporated into Halloween or Christmas or birthday or anything, and you can put anything in the bags as well. If you wanted it to be like food snacks, you know, like something that you made, or some cookies, or maybe even loaves of bread, things like that. And then you can do the little stamps can be to from our house to your house, things like that. So really the sky is the limit. Let me know, guys, if you've ever done anything like this and how you would incorporate this. Like what kind of tags might you use, or gift bag toppers or goodie bag toppers. But you see that I am using the sheer shimmer spray. Look at that. Look at that sparkle. Oh my gosh, this one is in the sparkle color. And it comes in a variety of colors: gold, rose gold, silver, pewter, and you can have larger bottles or smaller bottles. It even comes in a dauber. Love this stuff. So I sprayed that on all four of my panels, and then on two of my hearts I have them lifted up on some foam tape, and I always use wet glue. I need that wiggle room. I just need it to line things up. I have a very crooked eye, so if you're like me, you might want to add some wet glue to your dry adhesives. And I'll also do it here. I'm using the tear it tape as well, which sticks amazingly well. But I almost always put some wet glue on the back of that as well, just so I have that room to wiggle things around if I need to. About the craft mat, I forgot to mention this when I was using the heat tool. The craft mat is heat resistant and it's stain resistant. So you can see where I still have some of the red pigment. All I need to do is use some of my StazOn stamp cleaner, and boom, it'll be gone. I haven't done it yet, but I need to get back there and do that. Stains don't bother me. It just shows that your stuff has been loved. But for those of you that really don't want your product stains, whether it's stamps or a mat like this or anything else, use that StazOn cleaner because it will clean it off in a heartbeat. And so I have filled my goodie bags. I only have 4 of them. I have 2 longer ones and 2 shorter ones. And so I filled them with candy that fit. And then I'm using a stapler. It's a simple stapler from my stash, and I turned it around to make sure that the front of the stapler was on the front of the goodie bag so that the poikies weren't on the front. Guys, I thank you for joining me today for this faux dip dye technique, as well as a little bit of ink smooshing to make these fun goodie bags with a variety of products from Imagine. I'm very, very impressed and very pleased and excited to be a part of the team. So I thank you for joining me. Until next time, guys, this has been Nancy, the Handy Scandy for Imagine. Mwah! I'm out.